Welcome to Guess the Year. I'm the host. My name's Mike. Today we've got 5 deadheads from around the country competing for a $50 gift card to REI and a spot in next week's show. Here's how the game works. We'll play the first part of a Grateful Dead live track, and each contestant will use the messaging system to silently guess which year the performance is from. Contestants, who are all on video to prevent any possibility of cheating, can submit their guesses at any time during the clip or in the 10 seconds after it concludes. Whoever is furthest from the correct year is eliminated. The last 2 deadheads standing will have a best of 3 series to determine a winner. We've got our returning champion Kyle here with us, and we'll meet the rest of the deadheads shortly. But first, let's get the game going. Without further ado, the Grateful Dead. Okay. Sugar Magnolia. It was at the Hill Auditorium in Ann Arbor, Michigan on December 14th, 1971. The tour was Pigpen's return after some health issues, and he paired his harp and organs with newcomer Keith's piano, combination they would later perfect in Europe in 72. So we had a few people guess 1971. Let's start with our returning champion, Kyle. You nailed it. What'd you hear?
I heard Keith. I didn't really hear any Pigpen. I was kind of like, dude, it sounds early. It's got to be like 70, 71, but I'm not hearing Pigpen. And I just said, fuck it, 71.
Kyle, as we know, he's a returning champion. He's 47. He's from Chicago. Then we have James. You also guessed 1971. James is 36. He's from Washington, D.C. He's got 2 kids sleeping. He's letting the F-bombs fly. How did you figure that one out?
Well, not really playing any instruments myself and never having been able to. I kind of predicate this kind of stuff off of vocals. And Bobby's got a sound in 71. I knew if they're playing Sugar Mag, it's got to be kind of 71s. Probably, I don't know if they played it in 70, but really started playing it with any frequency in 71. So Bobby's got a little bit of a lack of smoothness that you hear in 72 on that kind of was indicative of 71. And then Jerry's guitar just has that sound that's not quite alligator yet. It's a little bit more harsh, kind of like Bobby's voice. So I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Steven is 43. He's from Kentucky. He also guessed 1971. Steven, what'd you hear?
Yeah, just similar to James, it's early, but I really think the difference between 1972 and 1971 is that rough kind of garage band sound. They're still kind of working out some of that roughness. It's raw. Bobby has a lot of rawness, especially in the vocals. But Keith's in there, and he just joined for the tail end of 71. So just deduction.
There you have it. Steven, how did you get into the Dead?
I started skateboarding when I was 14, and there was a skateboard shop, and they would play like Pigpen Blues, and and I didn't know it was a Grateful Dead. I was just like, oh man, this is some good blues music, and that's really what did it.
Wow. I love it. James, just to make Jason and Andrew sweat it out even more. James, how did you get into the Dead? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask.
Yeah, somewhere in kind of, the first music I listened to was kind of more like Green Day, heavier, little bit punk sort of stuff in middle school. And then my mom had American Beauty on LP. Shout out to my mom. When in like 10th grade, I kind of started listening to that in earnest when my taste got a little bit softer. And then when I discovered archive.org in like 2003-4, when I was a senior high school freshman, University of Georgia, it just took off from there. And I was really kind of more into actually studio stuff for the first 5 or 6 years, kind of got all of that established. And then in the last 7-8 years, really just kind of gone off the deep end with the live stuff. So
great. Jason and Andrew, you guys both advance, even though you're both 1 year off, different directions. We'll start with Andrew. Andrew is 24. He's from Corvallis, Oregon State. And Andrew, you guessed 1972, 1 year off. Clearly you were spot on. How'd you get into the Dead, and what'd you hear there?
So my dad followed 87 to 90. And I mean, all growing up, he would always play it in the car. And me and my siblings, we hated it. So you do, oh, you guys choose a song, I'll choose a song. His was always like an hour long. We hated it for so long.
What a dad move. I love that.
I know. But every year, New Year's, he would play, New Year's Eve, he'd play either Closing of Winterland, DVD, or Ticket to New Year. So I completely grew up with it. And it wasn't until I was like, I don't know, 17, 18, that I finally listened to American Beauty. And I just kind of stayed on that for a couple of years. And I don't know, it just something clicked eventually. And I just completely went off the deep end past 2 or 3 years. I think right when COVID hit, actually, is when I really started getting into the live stuff.
And how do you listen to it? How do you like find the live stuff?
Archive. No, not archive. Re-listen. I use re-listen. That's what I mostly go to. Spotify if I need to, but almost entirely on re-listen. Yeah.
Welcome. Jason, you guessed 1970, also 1 year off. How'd you get into the Dead?
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I might be the old man of the group here at 42.
Yes, I'm sorry. Jason is 42. He's from St. Paul, Minnesota. Oh man, I'm like 1 for 4 over here.
You're good.
Go on. Sorry.
No, totally. I started listening in high school. It was one of those things that we sought out. It was like classic rock, Jimi Hendrix, like all that good stuff. I think my first listen was probably like Aoxomoxoe or whatever the greatest hits one was. I think those were my first introductions. And then from there, it was just like whatever I could get my hands on. It was like 95. Like, honestly, I started listening like the week Jerry died. Was just kind of like a weird coincidence. But just buying CDs as much as you could find at the no-name record stores. They'd have like weird bootlegs that weren't actual, CD releases and shit like that. And I think at one point, I had all the Dick's Picks, the actual releases. And then, much like you guys, like the precursors to the archive, like the E-Tree and all, Napster, when it first came out, I was finding weird stuff on there. But archive.org, and I was burning I have like a stack downstairs of rows of stacks of CDs of stuff that we would burn. We'd go to like the torrent sites, these Lostless Legs and Jerry sites and stuff, where the Jerry Project and these things where they would upload whole years of like Jerry Garcia Band shows. And you would, if you'd follow along over the months, you'd be like, all right, I downloaded every show from that year, and you'd get them all. And it was just more about having them, I think, but listening to Jerry Garcia Band and just all of that good stuff. But I would say I knew that it was 71 or 70. I was thinking that it wasn't quite 71 because listening to like those like Fillmore East, like Jerry's guitar has like that sound where it's just like a little bit more electric and a little bit more of that wah wah kind of shit going on, and it didn't quite sound like that. I knew it sounded early, and so I threw out 70. I wasn't quite sure if Sugar Mag was out in 70 or not, but that was my guess.
Jason, thanks. Everyone's moving on to the next round. Let's hear the next song. All right, so we had Wang Dang Doodle. It was at Soldier Field on June 22nd, 1991. The song was first performed in 1983, then sporadically throughout the 80s. But from 1991 onwards, it was performed an average of 15 times per year. Steven, we had 3 people get it exactly. Steven, Kyle, and Andrew. Steven, let's start with you. How did you figure out it was 1991?
You know, I think 1991 is the swan song for Wang Dang Doodle. Jerry does this MIDI guitar. Bob just kind of leans in. You got Bruce Hornsby, and you can hear Vince's vocals. I mean, it's a chance it's spring of 92, but really, it's probably 91.
And you thought it fell off after that?
Hornsby left in March of 92, and I don't think they played it as often after that. I think 91 they was probably their peak year for that song. I could be wrong.
Andrew, you got it. 1991. Did you hear something similar, Steven?
I do not listen to anything post Brent. Like I barely went into that, but I heard 2 keyboards, 2 piano players going on. So and I know one of them didn't last too long. So I just figured 91, pretty solid guess. Bobby sounded pretty good. That MIDI, didn't think it was too late into that, but yeah.
All right, well, I have to ask. I mean, I know, is it that you love Brent so much, just you don't like the post, or like the deterioration of the band, or what? Why?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, deterioration. I'm not a fan of Bruce or Vince too much. Brent's so good, Keith's so good, Pigpen's so good. Just not into that.
I'm gonna let James respond here because he's emphatic.
I don't know, man. Brent's awesome, but there's something about Vince. I'm not saying Vince is better, but there's some Vince memes, if that's worth the shit, that fucking rock.
See, I think I don't know. I'm kind of on Team Andrew or Brent, but I understand there's clearly a divide. And we had someone on the first show who was not into Brent at all.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying Vince is better than Brent. That's not even close. I'm just saying Vince, in my opinion, deserves a little bit more credit than he got. I don't know. Again, mostly because of the memes.
All right, Kyle, you also guessed 1991. You're on in the next round. Why don't you play, judge here on all your conversation?
Well, I had a slight advantage in that I was actually at this show, so I had no excuse to fuck it up.
Wow.
I am a Brent enthusiast though, because my first 4 shows were with Brent. And I mean, it was literally night and day. Like the first time I saw them without Brent, it was at Deer Creek, and my friends and I looked at each other. We're like, yeah, not bad, not like, a bad way to spend the day at Deer Creek at a Dead show. But Brent was like a secret weapon, like he had something uh fucking magical, really. I mean, it was just, you had to see it to really get it. A lot of the people I know that defend Vince are just ones that caught him in that era. They have like a sentimental attachment, and they put on great shows in that era too. You put that much musical talent on one stage, any moment of any show can be, a masterpiece. So they had him, just less frequently.
Jason, you guessed 1994. Sorry, I fucked this up. James, you guessed 1990. You're safe. Jason, you guessed 1994. I'm sorry, you're eliminated. You were not that far off. You just ran into like a bunch of this game. Everyone just keeps getting better and better. Jason, what'd you hear that made you think 94?
Well, what I didn't hear was 2 piano players, which would have definitely keep me in on the 91 factor. It sounded like Vince. I heard Vince right away. It sounded good, which I kind of thought it was like that 94 like stretch where they kind of sounded better after 93, if you will. So that was kind of my thought. The 91 stuff that I normally listen to, I guess, I don't know. I probably pass up Wang Dang Doodle when I shouldn't, but I'm just not as familiar with that one song in 91, I think.
Well, we really appreciate you playing, Jason.
No problem.
I don't think you're the only one that passes up Wang Dang Doodle.
I will say, as I've gotten older, I like it a lot more. I mean, Bobby's playing is amazing. As I've gotten more of a Bobby fan, I mean, it's a great song, so it's come around.
Thank you for playing, Jason.
Yep.
So James, Kyle, Steven, and Andrew are on to the next round. We're still trying to get it down to 2 people, and then we'll go on to the best of 3 series. Let's play the next song.
It cost a lot to win, and even more to lose. You and me better stand sometimes just wondering what to choose. It goes to show you don't ever know what each card you play and play it so. Wait until that deal comes round. Don't you let that deal go down, oh no. I've been gambling hereabouts for 10 good solid years. I told you about all that went down and went burn off both your ears. It goes to show you don't ever know what each card you play and play it slow. Wait until that deal comes round. Don't you let that deal go down, oh no.
So it was a deal. It was at Marin County Veterans Auditorium on March 31st, 1984. It was the 3rd night of the Dead's 4-show run at their hometown Santa Fe. And deal ended the first set, and the second set started with a 30-minute Scarlet Fire. The closest out of everyone was Steven. Steven, you guessed 1985. How did you arrive at 1985?
When the song was playing, everything froze, so I heard about 4 seconds. In that 4 seconds, I recognized the sound of a soundboard of the 1985, because that's the sound I remember from my tapes. But I had like 4 seconds to hear.
Wow, what a flex. I love it, Steven. And so you're at 85, it's like, all right, I know it's the 80s. I'll go dead center and hope people will mess up.
Yeah.
All right. You're safe. You're on to the next round. Andrew, you guessed 1981. You're safe as well. What did you hear there?
Jerry didn't sound too bad to me, so I didn't think it was too late in the decade. Definitely 80s though. I heard some organ, Brent's backups. So I kind of went a little further earlier. But I don't know. It was a fast deal. Nothing too much though, so I didn't think it was too late. So yeah, just kind of early, 81.
It was a little too fast for my taste, to be honest. It just felt a little chaotic. Kyle, you're safe. You got 1980. James, you guessed 1978. You are eliminated. I'm sorry. What made you think that sounded like 78?
So I have a tendency to also, before I say anything, Steve, that was a great flex. I mean, to get that in 4 seconds is fucking sick. I have a tendency to, like, the speed was the main thing I heard, to kind of mistake, and this is a cardinal sin, but mistake Brent's voice at times for Donna. When it's not the greatest, clearest of it. And then I heard that organ at the end, and that really should have clued me in, but you know.
It was a weird year. 84, like, it was a fast deal. It was a lesser known show. Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, at some point I read or heard something about 84 in particular. It was some quote like Jerry was playing billions of notes every night or something like that. And that, for whatever reason, kind of resonated with me. So
That's called
There
a
you go.
Coke show over a heroin show.
Yeah,
This
sounded
was
like
1984, like Miami Vice, like.
it. Yeah, cool.
I think 83 to 85 is so underrated. There's warts in the band, Jerry's voice, they play really fast, but there's some amazing music that people just need to listen to.
The 83 show that Trey said was he saw
Probably
up
Frozen,
in
but
Vermont. That
nonetheless.
one is incredible.
Oh, that's the one that radicalized him. I saw that. Yeah. Well, James, thank you so much for playing. You rock.
Dude, thanks for having me. I hope this thing, I'm going to listen every week. Hope this thing takes off and gets legs. That would be fucking sweet.
James, thanks so much, man.
All right, boys. Good luck.
So Kyle, Andrew, and Steven are fighting for the 2 spots in the best of 3 series.
Moses come right up on the quasar. Birds were jingling, the door was ajar. His bucket was silver, manna was gold. I asked him to come on in out of the cold. His brain was boiling, his reason was spinning. There's nothing is borrowed, nothing is lent. He asked me for mercy, I gave him a gun. Now and again, these things just got to be done. Abraham and Isaac sitting on a fence. Keep on your work if you had any sense. You know the one thing we need is a land and monkey wrench.
Greatest story ever told is at the Shoreline Amphitheater on August 25th, 1993. The Shoreline was finished in 1986, and Bill Graham designed it to look like the Steal Your Face logo when you look down from above. Unfortunately, when you're at the venue, you're kind of not looking down from above, but it's a nice thing to think about. Steven, you were closest. You got 1994. Talk us through it.
There's no Bruce. You hear Jerry's guitar tone is different because he's playing his last like 1 or 2 guitars before the end of the band, and it just has a different sound to it.
Kyle, you guessed 1978, and you
way
are. What tripped you up there?
It just had a different like sonic quality. It sounded like earlier recordings, like late 70s. At first I was thinking 78, and then I heard piano, and I didn't hear like the bass sounded older to me, like the whole thing. Like it didn't have that like crystal clear 90s sound. But at the end, all of a sudden I had like evidence that it wasn't going to be 1978, but my head was in 1978. I just didn't know. It threw me.
I got you. Well, Andrew, you're not alone, and you guessed 1977. So Kyle is safe by 1 year.
I know. I'm so mad.
I know there's some, you wish you could have sent it later, but what you did hear when you guessed, what did you hear?
I mean, yeah, I heard really great quality. I thought Jerry's sound, I thought that was like a 77 estimated profit kind of deal. So that's kind of what I was leaning into. Some pretty basic keys, I thought. So I thought it was like 77, 78 or something. And then, yeah. And then he started singing. I'm like, oh, crap. I got that wrong way off.
Well, Andrew, you're the best, man. Your knowledge for a young guy. You're 24, you said? Or,
yep, 24.
24. Killing it. We got to have under 30 off with you and Caleb. You're great, man. Please come on again soon. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, this is so much fun. I love what you're doing.
Totally.
Thanks,
Definitely
man.
keep going, man.
Thanks. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll have you on again soon. I really
Awesome.
appreciate you participating.
Let me know, for sure.
All right.
Cool. Good luck, everyone.
Kyle and Steven. Thus begins a best of 3 series to determine the winner of the $50 REI gift card. Kyle looking to defend his throne. Steven looking to reach the mountaintop. Let's do it.
Come on, you pretty women with your hair and down. Open up your window, 'cause the candy man's in town. Come on, boys, and wager. Roll those laughing bones. 7 come 11, boys. I'll take your money home. Whoa. Look out, the candy man. Here he come and he's gone again. Pretty lady ain't got no friend till the candy man comes around again.
All right. Candyman, Cleveland Public Hall, November 29th, 1979.
Oh,
It's a Hunter Garcia track, debuted in an acoustic set in April 1970, several months before it was released as part of American Beauty. Kyle, you guessed 1980. You were closer. How'd you diagnose that?
It reminded me very much of like the Dead Set version of Candyman. So that particular keyboard Brent's playing is the same one. His voice is very light. Jerry sounds good. He's not, totally cashed out vocally. So I skewed it a little early Brent.
Steven, you guessed 1981. Only 1 year off.
yeah.
There's nothing really to correct there, but what'd you hear?
I was just thinking of the Candyman from like the February run in 1981 in Chicago. It's a very similar tone.
Well, Kyle goes up 1-0 in the series. If he wins the next one, he clinches the $50 REI gift card.
Awesome.
And Stephen, yeah, you need to win this one to stay alive.
I feel tears welling up and down deep inside, like my heart's got a big break. And the stab of loneliness sharp and painful, I may never shake. And you might think that I'm taking it hard since you broke me off with a call. You might wait a little higher than sorrow, while they right down and bottom. Now the race is on and here comes pride at the backstage. Heartaches are going to the inside. My tears are holding back. Try not to fall. My heart's out of the running. True love scratch for another sake. The race is on and it looks like heartaches. And the winner loses all. Day I ventured to love, never once suspecting what the final results would be. Then feel waking up each morning and finding that you're gone from me. There's an aching pain in my heart for the name of the one that I hated to face. Somebody else went out to win her, out in second place. Now the race is on and here comes pride of the backstage. Heartaches are going to the inside. My tears are holding back. Try not to fall. My heart's out of the running. True love scratch for another's sake. The race is on and it looks like heartache. The winner loses all.
All right, the guesses are in. The race is on at Kezar Stadium in San Francisco on May 26th, 1973. The 49ers played their home games at Kezar from 1946 to 1970. It is now a public park. Instead of, being demolished like every other NFL stadium these days, now people can hang out there. Kind of nice. Steven, you guessed 1973. You got it exactly. Talk us through it.
It's a toss-up. It could be 1974, but I did have that show on tape. Like, that was like my first batch of 10 tapes I got in the early 90s. And I don't know, I just guessed it right.
So you recognize, like, oh shit, this race is on. It's from that tape.
I didn't know specifically it was from 526, but I knew it was in that basic probably time period. 1974 tapes, they sound a little bit clearer most of the time.
And over the years, did the tapes get better and better quality? I mean, obviously from like the 60s they did, but was there like a plateau they hit?
It's weird because some years in the later era they sounded worse. There's some 80s periods where they sounded worse than the early 70s, and it all depended on the generation of tape you got. How many people dubbed it for you?
Oh, how many times you ripped it off? So like a facsimile, facsimile. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, archive.org revolutionized tapes because suddenly they were clean and digital.
Awesome. Kyle, you guessed 1977.
I did, yeah.
Talk to us.
I whiffed on that one. I knew it was somewhere in the 70s. Donna was pretty low key, so I couldn't get too much info from her. I didn't hear a second keyboard, and it didn't have a wall of sound to it. The wall of sound had some technological quirks to it. Those double microphones they have, Owsley invented noise canceling headphone technology with that. And it was designed because the wall of sound was behind them, which meant the microphones were picking up the PA. So he wired a second one in to cancel out the first one. So if you're singing into the top one, it cancels out the bottom one and you lose the background noise. He was a genius. I mean, he was the LSD chemist. He built noise canceling technology, all sorts of like quirky stuff unique to them. The wall of sound was like his baby. I skewed it later because I overthought it. I thought that dopey Secretariat year of the Triple Crown, they would sometimes do the races on around like the Kentucky Derby and stuff like that. They did the Greek in '89, I think, in the spring, or the Frost Amphitheater. They did a races on right around the Kentucky Derby, and that's what threw me. I thought they were spoofing the horse.
Your deep knowledge works against you there. All right, it's 1-1, guys. Whoever gets the next one wins.
Red and white, U.S. blue. I'm Uncle Sam. How do you do? Ain't no luck. I learned to duck. Check my pulse. It don't change. Ain't 72. I'm shining rain. Wave the flag. Pop the babe. Rock the boat. Skin the gold. Wave that flag, waving wide and high. Summertime, come and go, my oh my.
U.S. Blues at the Auditorium Theater in Kyle's hometown, Chicago, on June 29th, 1976. U.S. Blues is an evolution of the Dead song Wave That Flag, sorry, which was played 15 times in 1973. The lyrics of the two songs are different, but they sound very similar, and the lyrics are pretty similar too. You guys both guessed 1974. You're both safe. I guess we'll start with Kyle because it's your hometown. What's up?
You know, my first thought was 76, and then it was just the chronic butchery of the words. I was like, this might be an early one where they were still figuring out what the hell the song was. It used to be Wave That Flag. Then, you know, like they taught themselves the songs on stage. I have that 76 show, you know, I totally know the one you're talking about. It was a famous radio broadcast. And I thought that initially, but it was the butchery. Like you threw me on that one. That was good work. That was good hosting.
Thank you. Steven, you guessed 74 as well.
Yeah, I totally thought this was like the Wave the Flag version because of the same thing. They messed up the lyrics and they were kind of slow. I did not even think it was 1976.
Well, we're going to another game. We're still in sudden death. And let's play.
I can't stay much longer, Linda. The sun is getting high. I can't help you with your trouble if you won't help with mine. I gotta get down. I gotta get down. Gotta get down to the ground.
Cumberland Blues at the Fillmore West on June 7th, 1970. Robert Hunter wrote the lyrics to Cumberland Blues. and said the greatest, this is straight from dead.net, by the way, just verbatim, but he said the greatest compliment he ever received was from an old guy who worked at the Cumberland Mine. He said, the old guy said, I wonder what the guy who wrote this song would have thought if he ever known something like the Grateful Dead was going to do it. And Robert Hunter said, best compliment he's ever received. You guys both guessed 1970, both diagnosed. We'll start with Steven this time. What'd you hear?
You know, there was a stretch in 1970 where they were playing this song and they were doing like acoustic, and then Jerry would kind of ease in with a little electric. That's what I heard.
Kyle?
Yeah, same. It was an early version. I heard some acoustic, not entirely. It sounded like Jerry was playing an electric, which shook it up. That was like, fuck, am I hearing acoustic? Yeah, that's an acoustic. But you know, I knew it was 70.
So why could that not have been 69, say?
Well, I think they did play it in November of 69, but it was like straight electric. They didn't do the acoustic until like spring of 70.
Got it.
Those like Bears Choice era shows.
Yeah.
This is another amazing finals matchup.
Another cat fight.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right.
Morning comes, she follows the path to the river shore. Light the sun, her song is the latch when the morning's dark. See the sun, sparkle in the reeds, silver beams, pass through the sea. She comes from the town where they call her the Curtis Daughter. She's proud of the bank where she kneels down to gather the water. She bears it away with the love the river has taught her. Let it flow, white and clean. Round and round, the color of the plow in the world field. Seasons round, bushels of corn, the barley meal, broken ground, open and beckoning to the spring, black dirt to begin.
All right. Let It Grow. The Charlotte Coliseum on June 18th, 1992. Let It Grow ended the first set of that show. It was preceded by Tom Thumb's Blues, a Bob Dylan cover, which was performed 50 times between 1985 and 1995. Kyle, you guessed 1990, and you were closer. You are the back-to-back champion.
Wow.
Congratulations. Walk us through it.
So my knee jerk was 91. Whenever I hear, you know, Vince and Bruce, I think 91. But I thought you were going to probably try to throw us by not doing another 91, doing like a 90. And I thought there was that stretch in the fall when they first launched. September, I think, was when they launched after Brent died. And I heard a couple of those shows, and I know there was a Let It Grow in there somewhere. And I thought, you know, he might be throwing that 90 fall in here to throw us off the 91 thing. So I went 90.
Is there, knowing it's 92 now, do you look back and be like, oh fuck, I missed something, or is it pretty much the same?
There was one Vince riff which was uncharacteristically inspired that I thought maybe he had sort of like, you know, grown into the role by 92 more than 90. I don't dislike Vince. He just wasn't the natural fit of like Keith and Brent. Those dudes were like born to be in the fucking Dead. And Vince was a different animal. I mean, he came from the Tubes, you know, like White Punks on Dope and all that, like, you know, 70s stuff. Totally different thing. You know, it's a different vibe. But I overthought it. But fortunately, he overthought it slightly more.
Steven, 1995.
Yeah, I overthought it. I really thought it was like 93 or 95, and here's why I thought it. First of all, Bruce isn't in the band. Garcia's guitar playing is not as good as it could be. And that's why I finally leaned toward 95. It just sounded like spring of 95. He's He's not playing as many notes as he normally does. Unfortunately, I was wrong. Good job.
I appreciate that.
And another great finals matchup. Congratulations to you both for your amazing knowledge, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having
Mike.
me.
You put a really great show together, man. It's a lot of fun to play. I hope it's as fun to listen to for the folks at home.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Subscribe to Guest the Year on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. For show updates, follow us at Guest the Year on Instagram. And if you want to be a contestant on the show, sponsor the show, or make comments, ask questions, email us at guesttheyearshow@gmail.com. For the fun facts about the show, I relied heavily on Dead.net and Grateful Dead of the Day and their commenters, so thank you. Thanks to the amazing tapers whose recordings made this show possible. Congratulations to our back-to-back winner, Kyle.
Good job, Kyle.
We'll see him next week. And to our other contestants, thank you for playing, and remember, it's all one song anyways.
Good night, and I bid you good night, good night, good night.